Next up, we have graduate students of IISC, Miss Prachi Singh and Dr. Shrikant, who would talk about their work in overview of speech processing in context of speech recognition and speech diarization. Ms. Prachi Singh is a PhD student at Learning and Extraction of Acoustic Patterns LEAP Lab, E- Electrical Engineering Department, IISc Bangalore. In the past, she has worked in Fiat Chrysler Automobiles Chennai, India from 2015 to 2017. She also worked in Fiat Pune in 2015. She is a student member of IEEE and ISCA. Her research interests include speaker diarization, speaker verification, self-supervised learning, and graph clustering. The other speaker is Dr. Shrikant Raj Chetupalli, who is a postdoctoral fellow at Learning and Extraction of Acoustic Patterns Lab, Electrical Engineering Department, IISc Bangalore. He obtained his PhD degree from IISc in 2020, Masters in Signal Processing from IISc in 2011, and Bachelor's from Jawaharlal Nehru Technological University, Hyderabad. He was a TCS Research Fellow from 2015 to 2019. He is a member of IEEE and ISCA. His research interests include multi-channel speech processing, microphone arrays, speech recognition and diarization, speech deverberation, and spatial audio. Welcome, Ms. Prachi and Dr. Shrikant. I'll hand it over to you now.
Thank you, Swati, for such a nice introduction. Uh, I'll share my screen for our presentation. Swati, can you confirm, is it visible?
It's loading. Yeah, it's visible now.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening, everyone. I am Prachi Singh. I am a PhD student at LEAP Lab, Department of Electrical Engineering, ISC. Today, I and Shrikant will be giving an overview of speech processing in the context of speech recognition and speaker diarization. First, I would like to thank IEEE student chapter for inviting us for this talk on the day of Shannon's birth anniversary. Therefore, I just wanted to dedicate one slide to uh, the great Shannon. And this is one of his quote I found online, which is like, we know the past but cannot control it. We control the future but cannot know it. So I found it very relatable to the current situation also. So with this, let me start the talk. This is the outline, where I'll start with a brief introduction of speech processing and its application. Then I'll discuss about speaker diarization, what is it and what are the approaches and applications. Then Shrikant will discuss about the problem of or the task of automatic speech recognition approaches in that, and how to in like handle this approach for the multi-speaker conversation speech, which is also known as multi-speaker ASR. And finally, we'll end with a summary. So without further ado, let me begin the introduction. So the speech signal is a one-dimensional function, which is a air pressure vibration with respect to time. And a microphone converts the fluctuating air pressure into electrical signals like voltages or current, in which form we usually deal with speech signal. The frequency range is the energy is more prominent in the frequency range of 100 hertz to 4 kilohertz. Therefore, when we process and analyze it, we convert it into digital form by sampling at a rate greater than equal to 8 kilohertz, which is the by the Shannon sampling theorem. This is the minimum sampling rate which we need. So speech processing is the study of speech signal and the processing methods of signals. So I'll just play one audio and show how it looks like when we plot it. So x-axis is the time and the y-axis is the amplitude. This is the
Speech processing.
this is the video and audio, and when we plot it, it will look like this. So we can see that there are a lot of variation in amplitude as well as in frequency. So speech is therefore is a time varying signal. So its characteristics are changing with time. Coming to the application, so speech processing is a very wide area, and it has been divided into various categories. I'll go briefly towards each of them. And it started with actually it got inspired with the communication domain only, where we were needing to transmit bits of data from one place to another. So then the need was to reduce the size of data to efficiently transfer it without losing out the content, and also able to transmit at a lower bit rate. Therefore, the speech coding is still a very hot area of research. And then next comes the speech enhancement, which involves removing the noise and reverberation from the audio to make it more like understandable. And then recently speech recognition is gaining a lot of attention because of lot of devices has come up like voice assistants and all. So it is the task of converting the spoken words into text form, which is more understandable by machine. So next is the speech synthesis. It is the task to convert the text into speech format. The challenge is to make it more like human speech as compared to robotic voice. And the next important area is speaker verification or identification. So it involves comparing the two voice audio belonging to each containing some speaker, and then comparing whether these two speakers are from the speakers are same or not. So the application is in many places, and especially in security application. For example, in our phone password protection, we use our voice to unlock the phone. So in the backend, it will try to compare our voice with the already stored one, and if it matches, then it will unlock. The last one is the speaker diarization. It is the task of segmenting the audio into regions based on speaker sources. So in a multi-talker conversational speech where many people are talking, if we want to tag each and every person in that audio, then we use this approach, and it has been a very important step for other tasks of like speech recognition and speaker verification as well. So there are many emerging applications nowadays, like I discussed about voice assistants, which is like Siri, Cortana, Alexa, etc., which first convert our speech into text and then process it to get the answer back to us using speech synthesis. So there are a lot of applications which have been using these things. There is speech-to-speech language translation, which basically involve converting one speech from one language to speech to another language, so that it is more easier if we want to communicate with each other where we belong, where we don't know the other person's language. And then there is a human robot interaction, and in speech analytics where we focus on improving the customer satisfaction in the call center scenario. So it involves the transcription for the indexing and retrieval purpose, and behavioral analysis to understand the emotion of the customer while talking to a call center agent. And there are many more such applications. In this talk, we would like to focus more on the conversational speech, which contains multiple speakers engaged in a conversation. So earlier systems were more focused on single speakers recording, but now there are so many applications which demand conversational speech processing. And modeling of conversational speech requires both understanding the speaker characteristics as well as the content. Therefore, speech segmentation and transcription are the two important components of a conversational speech processing system. So here we will be more interested about the speech recognition and speaker diarization component and how they interplay to solve the problem at hand. So once again, I'll define this problem of automatic speech recognition. It is converting the speech into sequence of words. And then it is already it has been a very old problem, and now the performance of recognition system are very good for single speaker recording, where the recording has a low noise. But in real scenarios, we deal with audio which has multiple speakers, so the task become more challenging because we have to identify the different speakers and their corresponding spoken words. So the word error rate, which basically highlights how much error is there in the output uh, output of the system in terms of words, like how much words are not correctly identified by the system. So it jumps from 10% to 30% if we use this kind of recording. So there is a lot of scope to improve in this type of scenarios. Therefore, the problem can be split into two sub-problems. So we can use the diarization system to perform the segmentation into speaker-specific region. And once we know that, then we can use the specific regions for performing speech recognition. And then it will be a more meaningful output. So I will, in this section, I will go a little detail about what the speaker diarization problem is and how it has been solved from from the so many years. So it is defined as the task of partitioning the input audio stream into segments based on speaker sources. So intention is to pass the audio to a diarization system. So it should generate the speaker labels. So same speaker regions should be labeled as with same label, and different speaker with different label. And there are various challenges which are involved in this type of like recordings. First is a variable number of speakers. So the number of speakers from recording to recording may vary from 1 to 10, or maybe more depending on the length of the recording. So again, the task at hand is more challenging as there is no consistency in the number of speakers. Then there is variable acoustic conditions, for example, noise and reverberations based on where the conversation is taking place. And in natural conversation, we tend to have a lot of overlap among talkers, which again is difficult part. Then there is a intra-speaker variability, like in audiobooks where someone is reading out a story. Then there is a voice modulation and intonation which needs to be done for various characters of the story. So then again, it is difficult for a system to identify whether it's the same speaker or not. Then in debates, there will be a lot of speakers and there will be a lot of short and long speaker turns, which is which creates inconsistency, and that has to be handled by the model. So as examples, I want to show some scenarios. The first is the audiobook.
Now, if we remain here, we shall die of hunger, and if we move out, we shall be strung upon the gallows. If you will serve me for 7 years, said the dragon, I will lead you through the midst of the army so that no one can catch you.
So in this audio, we can hear that the speaker is reading out a story, and then she is modulating the voice based on the character. So that becomes very challenging for a system to identify. Next is the conversation in the background noise.
I'm good.
Good to see you again.
Good to see you again, too.
Well, you look awful nice today.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You're
who bought?
handsome, too.
I'm handsome.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Wow, what you been doing since I last saw you?
Well, you see, Mr. Harvey, I've been working on my 3rd book. I've launched my online store, and I also wrote a song for my mommy, Butterfly.
So in this audio, there are 2 dominant speakers, but there is an audience which is clapping and shouting. So then again, it acts as a background noise, but the system may fail to choose and may interpret as another speaker, or that's why it is again difficult to identify it. And the last example I will show is of debate, and here it will show one waveform, speech waveform, and corresponding speakers present in that. So each color will represent a speaker. I'll just play that audio.
American people should speak. You should go out and vote. You're in now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now. Make sure you, in fact, let people know your senators. I'm not going to answer the question.
Why would you answer that question?
The question is, the
radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
Gentlemen, I think
This
we've
is
ended
so
this.
He's going to pack the court.
We have
We're not going to give a list.
We have ended this segment. We're going to move on to the second segment.
That was really a productive segment, wasn't it?
So yeah, this is like 3 colors are representing these 3 speakers. I think everybody would have guessed that this is from presidential debate 2020. So we can see there are a lot of overlap in this kind of scenario, and there are a lot of fast speaker turns. So, and looking at the waveform, we can't directly say that how many speakers were there, but at the end we want to separate it out. So that's why this problem is having a lot of attention now because of these all scenarios. So next I will discuss the technical details. So like how this problem has been solved from 20 years from now. And then this is the basic model where we feed the input audio to extract the features which can capture better frequency content as well as the time content, and then pass it to a speech activity detection, which will separate the speech and non-speech region. So the non-speech region can be silence or noise. Then next is to segment the audio into short segments so that each segment should not contain more than 1 speaker. And the next task is to perform the clustering. So it will cluster or group the segments which are corresponding to the same speaker, and then give the corresponding label. So now we have already seen that speech is a time varying signal. So for extracting the frequency content, we window it for a short window, like 25 millisecond or so, to generate the Fourier transform. And then it is called a short time frequency transform or Fourier transform. So we will slide this window, and for each window we will get a additional feature which represent a frame. So if we slide over, then it will display the corresponding frames. So each frame is a Fourier transform computed for that short time window. And these are called time frequency features. So this has been later there are a lot of such features which are being used, and the most popular ones are the melt frequency, capsular coefficients, which are also inspired like how the human ear is receiving the audio. So I don't want to go into the detail of that. Uh, so yeah, so the initial part of this problem solving involved how to perform the clustering. So the basic approach is this agglomerative hierarchical clustering. So it is like starting with a set of speaker segment which I've got and assuming they are the separate speaker, and then finding the pairwise distance of each of these segments, and then finding the merging two cluster at a time based on the minimum distance, and then recompute the distance based on the new cluster obtained, and then again finding the minimum distance. And this way we will narrow it down and reduce the number of cluster to the optimal number of cluster. This can be like the actual number of speaker, and if we don't know, then we have to stop at a particular threshold where we can say, okay, this many speakers are there in the recording. And this approach has been solved initially using hidden Markov model, Gaussian mixture model, where the each state of the HMM represents a speaker, and then the state distribution is a Gaussian mixture model. So we initially assign each state with certain speaker segment, and the corresponding features are used to train the GMM. Then we merge the two state with the minimum distance, and this minimum distance, then we combine all those features of the states to retrain a GMM, and then perform resegmentation using Viterbi decoding. So this approach was initially used for around 5 to 10 years, but there are some problems with this approach. So there is insufficient data for training the GMM. So as we are training for each recording, so the number of frames will depend on the length of the recording, and if the recording is smaller, then it will be not sufficient to model the GMM. And then retraining is time inefficient. Every time we have to retrain the GMM, which will cost us time. So next improvements came from borrowing the idea from speaker recognition, where the segment already has only one speaker, and then it is used to extract some speaker specific features. These are also called embeddings. So in diarization, we also segment the audio into short segments, and for each segment, we extract this time frequency features. Now, there is a Gaussian mixture background model, which is trained on a large amount of data containing various speakers. So it is a well-trained model. Now the task is to just adapt this model towards that segment which contains that speaker. So M0 is the initial means of the Gaussians, and MS is the adapted mean or shifted means. So this equation is known as the factor analysis, which captures the shift in the means, and T is the total variability matrix, and Y of S is a variable which tries to capture the speaker characteristics. It has a Gaussian distribution, but by doing the maximum of posterior estimate, we get the mean of the Gaussian, which are called as the I vectors. So this I vectors has replaced the HMMs, and the distances between the GMMs, and the distances are captured based on cosine distance. So the clustering algorithm now started using the I vectors. Now with the advent of deep neural networks, this statistical model got replaced with the neural network models. So here we feed the features, time frequency features to the feed forward layers, multiple feed forward layers, and then it performs some statistic poolings like mean and standard deviation to capture the entire content of those frames, and then pass it to another feed forward layer. And the final task is to perform the speaker classification. So the advantage of this is that we can train it for a lot of data and huge amount of speaker, and then the system will perform automatically well. And these layers after the statistic poolings represented the speaker characteristics very well. So this has been used. These are called as X vector, and this replaced the I vectors which were earlier used, and now these are used as the baseline model. Here this pipeline is now baseline is like we pass the input audio and get the short segments, and then we pass it to a neural network which gives us the X vectors, and then get a similarity score matrix. So in that we perform the similarity of the each of the pairs, and the higher value is represented by the lighter colors here, and the lower values are represented with darker color. So it kind of form a block type of matrix, and then we use this to perform the clustering, which gives the final diarization output. So this is the approach which has been used recently, but now here till now we were more focused to improve the performance of each of the blocks, like improving the speaker embeddings or the clustering. But if we want to remove all those blocks into one block, that was the ultimate goal, so that it need not have to pass it to all the modules. So with the availability of large amount of label data, and with the lot of new network architecture coming up nowadays, it is now a possible approach. So these are called as the end-to-end system, which is a fully supervised approach. Basically, we take input as some as f-dimensional audio feature, and then pass it to the deep neural network, and then it will directly generate the speaker labels. So for each of the speaker, it will generate whether it is present in that particular time instant or not. So it will handle the overlap as well as the speech activity detection, and as well as it performs the diarization. So it is a one-step approach. So that has become very like people started paying attention to it now. There are some drawbacks which there, like it requires a lot of data, label data for training, and it makes it very computationally heavy and time consuming, and it is therefore difficult to generalize for higher number of speakers. So it has been shown to work the best for the telephone data or the two speaker conversation, but as the number of speaker starts increasing, the performance is not that on par with the traditional approach. In my lab, we came up with a middle path, which is known as the self-supervised learning. It is a branch of unsupervised learning where the data itself provides supervision labels. So here is the block diagram below, where we feed the audio and extract the short segment features like X vectors, and then we pass it to a neural network, which will give the representations, and this representation are then used to perform the clustering. Now the initial clustering labels are again fed back to the network to get better representations. This is the backward path, and then again it is used to perform clustering, and this is iteratively done till we reach the required number of speakers, and this is used to generate the final output. So here we are using the information from the clustering output to make the representation more meaningful towards that recording. So this has shown some promise, and then we explored some different clustering approach also, which is based on graph. So graph is a structure in which basically nodes are connected using the edge weights. So on the right side we have this is the graph, and then in the algorithm the graph encodes the structure of the embedding space. So the nodes represent the embeddings and the edge weights represent the similarity scores between two nodes. So here we can see that each color is representing a speaker cluster, and there are very dense connections within that. So the approach is to maximize is to merge the clusters which has more connection among them. So this is based on the intuition that if there are denser connections, then the cluster is more stable and it is representing that speaker in a better way. So combining the self-supervised and this clustering, we have got we have found good improvements in the error rate, which is called as diarization error rate. It basically captures the speaker confusion error between the actual labels, ground truth labels, and the predicted labels. So here I've plotted a TSNE plot to show the embeddings in a two-dimensional plane, and the colors are representing the ground truth speakers. There are 4 speakers represented by 4 colors, and the shapes are representing the predicted speaker. And if the algorithm has worked fairly well, then the corresponding speaker should match the corresponding color. The triangular shape should be of yellow color, and so on. So by looking at this plot, we can see that the SSC, or the self-supervised clustering, has shown improvement. Like it has made the embeddings more discriminative compared to the baseline, and that has shown a huge improvement in the performance. And the F score is basically trying to capture how the features are representing that particular class. So if that F score is higher, that means there is a more information about that speaker in that feature. So that has also improved. This is the recent work which got published recently in IEEE transaction on audio, speech, and language processing. So with this, I would like to finish this section with some applications. So the first is rich speech transcription, which I've started the problem with. So like how this problem is making the speech recognition task more meaningful. And then next is this meeting documentation and summarization, which is analyzing the role modeling in meetings. And in call center, behavioral analysis of agents and customer to understand customer satisfaction can be performed. And another application is analyzing turn-taking behavior in mental health study, like of doctor-patient. So if anyone has any question, then you can ask.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
So when you use a neural network to do the speaker recognition, when you train the network, does it have to be the same speakers during the train and test time, or can it be different speakers as well?
Like it is a different speaker actually. We train the network with different set of speaker, and
Okay.
From that, and then we find some distance. So if like it is like basically comparing two different audio segment, whether they belong to the same speaker or not. So what we extract the embeddings for both of these audio segment, and then we find the distance between them. So if it crosses the threshold, then it is the same speaker.
Okay, so does the number of speakers have to remain the same, or can it also vary?
For testing,
Yeah.
it can vary. It need not have to same, because there is a pair where we care only about the pair, no? So that doesn't matter how many pairs we are picking.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Any more questions from the audience?
If there are no question, we can take it at the end. So next part will be covered by Shrikant. I would like to request Shrikant to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Prachi. Thank you, IEEE, for giving us this opportunity. So I'll be discussing about automatic speech recognition for conversational speech. So Prachi, can you go to the next slide?
Yeah.
As Prachi has already discussed, the task in automatic speech recognition is to convert a given audio segment into a sequence of words, and it is typically posed as the problem of predicting the most likely word sequence given the audio features. The input audio is converted into a set of time frequency features, and the task is to identify the corresponding set of words. It's posed as a maximum a posteriori estimation problem, and using Bayes rule, it's decomposed into a product of two terms. One is the likelihood term, which is also called the acoustic model. This is the likelihood of observing the acoustic the acoustic features or the speech signal for a given sequence of words, and the second term is the prior probability of the sequence of words, which is also computed using a language model. And the task is to the problem in ASR is to find a search over all possible sequences of words to identify the most likely sequence of words for a given audio. And note that here the capital N is the number of words for a given audio is not known. So the problem also involves some kind of alignment of the identifying automatically the alignment of the words to the acoustic features, and then identify what the words what are the spoken words. Can you go to the next slide? So a typical system looks like this. We have audio input, and it is given to we extract a set of features from the audio, and then an acoustic model takes the the features, and generates a set of acoustic likelihoods, which is used by a decoder along with the language model to generate the output word level transcription. And before we go into the details, let's look at some of the challenges in doing an ASR system. Prachi, next slide. So some challenges are one of the bigger challenges is the distant speech, meaning that the source of audio is a bit farther from the microphone, and in enclosed spaces this also means that the microphone captures the signal along with the room reverberation, and also other background noises. If there are any other sources, the signal to the background source noise ratio will be changing depending on the source to microphone distance. So that affects the performance of that poses a big challenge to ASR systems, and that is true with the modern voice assistant devices, where that's why you also require multiple microphones to handle. And the next one is the microphone and recording media differences. So the recording media, what I mean by here is the type of devices that are used or the channel over which we record the audio. Like if you are recording over a telephone channel, the audio tend to have a bandwidth at the maximum of 4 kilohertz for typical communication setups. And but in a general voice application kind of scenario, in a general voice assistant, you can actually capture a full bandwidth if you have a custom device. And there is also an intra-speaker and inter-speaker variability, and this speaker variability can happen at multiple levels within the language. You actually can have a different so the same word, the same person doesn't spoke different times with the same pronunciation or same intensity, and energy. So there's a pronunciation variability that happens because of accent, because of within the speaker, intra speakers, and also depending on the influence of the language on of the primary language of the person on the language that he is speaking. And there's also variability due to the language itself. So the vocabulary the different people use is different, and different applications have different requirements for vocabulary. English may have a large like a billion words, but a set of applications, some of them may only use a couple of thousands of words. So there's a higher language variability. And also, like in multilingual societies, we have multiple languages, and people switch seamlessly between one language to another language. So that also poses a challenge to AI systems development and their performance both. And in conversation style speech, the multiple speakers pose a real challenge, because speakers can speak simultaneously, that as it can happen in over a debate or and it's very different from the typical like a question answer kind of scenario, or a request a question kind of scenario that you face with a voice assistant. Like you just ask a question to the voice assistant. The situation is very different between a voice assistant and a conversational system. So with this, we'll go into the ASR system. Prachi, next slide, please. So the input representation for the ASR systems is typically a set of time frequency features. These are short time features and short time spectral features. And typical choices are the spectrograms or Bell frequency spectrograms or MFCC features. And the outputs also is represented differently. It's not directly the words. And so typically what the systems model is subword units or phonemes. So a phoneme is like a basic decomposition, a basic unit of pronunciation. Like in a cat sound, the word cat can be decomposed as ka, a collection of three sounds: ka, a, and t, the ta sound. So what you model is more of basic phoneme units. And the acoustic model actually computes the likelihoods of the sequences of phonemes, and the words are represented by these the decomposition using the phonetic dictionary. Prachi, next slide. The language model, on the other hand, actually computes a sequence is a probability of a word sequence. The traditional models use an n-gram language model. So these language models assume a Markov independence of n-1th order. So the probability of a sequence of t words for a bigram is can be decomposed as probability of the first word and the word 2 given word 1, so on, the product. And so these probabilities are actually computed using the frequency of their occurrences in the training data. So the data sparsity poses a big challenge to these kind of language models, because some word pairs may not be available and in the training data, and the corresponding probability will be 0. Recent advancements actually use a neural language model, which uses a recurrent networks with recurrent connections or self-attention based models. So in these models, the words are represented in a more continuous embedding space, and the training is self-supervised in some sense, using a next word prediction as the objective. So, but the difference is that neural language models can be computationally more involved, and also combining them with in the decoder is a bit difficult. So they are used not directly for generating ASR transcripts, but generating multiple ASR transcripts using a traditional system and reordering those sentences based on the neural language model. Next slide. So the acoustic model, the model that generates the likelihood of the acoustic observations given the for a given sequence of words. The traditional models have been on a Gaussian mixture model and Haider-Markov model based acoustic model. So the model for generation of the speech observations is a Haider-Markov model, a first order Haider-Markov model. But the states roughly correspond to the phonemes and the state distribution. So, and the states themselves can be composed by another left to right Haider-Markov model. whose state emission densities are actually the Gaussian mixture models. So it's a mixture of a hidden Markov models, and the states of the hidden Markov models are a Gaussian mixture models. And Viterbi decoding is used to find the maximum likelihood word sequence in this composite hidden HMM based models. So the original systems use this, and when the DNNs, with the advent of DNNs, the shift has moved to generating the acoustic likelihoods using a deep neural network. So the neural network now replaces the GMM HMM, the GMM part of the GMM HMM system. So the acoustic features are then fed to a neural network that generates the posterior probabilities over in a phoneme space or the CNON space, which is the basic acoustic unit space. And that is then given to the decoder, the Viterbi decoder, along with the language model and the lexical information to generate the word outputs. Yep. So first, go to the next slide. But the development of this kind of systems is tedious because one needs to have this the lexicon, which maps the words to lexicon and pronunciation dictionaries, which map the phoneme sequences to the words, and also it requires alignment of acoustic features to these words, and so we need a transcription for the given audio. That is one difficulty, and also an alignment is required for the words to the acoustic features, which is often done automatically, and that also involves doing an elaborate setup where you do sequentially build complex models and then align speech features. So the shift has been now recently towards an end-to-end approach where the input is the audio and directly you generate the output words without having to go through the Viterbi decoder or the lexicon and pronunciation dictionaries. Prachi, next slide, please. So one example of an end-to-end approach is shown here. Most of the approaches actually use an encoder-decoder style architecture. So the input audio is converted into a set of hidden features using an encoder. The encoder operates maybe at the same time step as the input acoustic features, or it can subsample the input acoustic features by a factor. The decoder takes as the input the output of the encoder and generates the output words in an auto-regressive manner. So for the first word generation, you give a start of the sentence symbol as the input, and the network generates a word as the output, and the output word is again fed back to the decoder. So this sequential mode of operation generates the final transcription. As you can see, this can be a very slow approach, and since also the task of the decoder now is to actually find the alignment of the words to the speech frames, and that makes the network difficult to train. So another difficulty is the addition of new words. So the vocabulary is limited at the output. So the network is trained in like a cross entropy objective, and for a fixed vocabulary, like fixed set of words in the output. And if you want to add new words, the network may have to be retrained on the entire data. So several techniques are being explored now to handle all these kind of situations, but as such, the networks require very large amount of data to train. So with this background, we'll move on to transcription of speech conversations. As Prachi has discussed, transcription with a speaker index is useful for many downstream applications, and this calls for a joint ASR and speaker derivation. And also the ASR system should be able to handle multiple simultaneous speakers and speakers having overlaps. I mean, multiple speakers within the same conversations and multiple speakers speaking simultaneously in a given chunk of audio. And some existing approaches for this task assume either like non-overlapping speakers and they predict the end of speaker tag as an additional output label. And some approaches use source separation, meaning that they separate the individual speakers first and then perform an ASR on the individual single channels. And one approach also is to give an external embedding. So in the given set of speakers, you find the desired speakers embedding, and then supply it as an additional input to the networks to generate the direction, the corresponding speaker's transcription. So one approach our lab we are working on is on jointly doing these two tasks together. So the input features is what we do is to give the input features to two sub networks. One is a direction network. This is the end-to-end direction model that Prachi has mentioned. And the output of the direction network is given as an additional input to the ASR model. So the ASR model now is trained to generate only the phonemes corresponding to that particular speaker. For every speaker, it's a separate speaker activity. So the model generates a speaker-specific phonemes, and the speaker activity is given by the direction system. Because both the networks are neural network systems, or neural networks, we can actually train the entire architecture end-to-end manner, like from input features to through direction and ASR system, and you can back propagate through the entire the joint network to generate the output transcription. Prachi, can you go to the next slide? So one example ASR system, the acoustic model system I have given, I've shown here. The input activity that we are estimating from the direction system is given as an additional input. So that is used to obtain an embedding in this diagram. It's shown with the name C, with the label C. So for the given input features, and use and the speaker activity, we do a couple of feed-forward layers followed by a pooling. The pooling layer essentially does pooling only over the regions where the speaker is active and discards all the other frames where the current speaker is not active, and generates an embedding. The embedding is then concatenated with the input features and then fed to a stack of bidirectional LSTM layers and a linear layer to generate Xenon level posteriors. So these Xenon posteriors are then given to the Viterbi decoder to generate the final transcription. So this is for a given speaker activity. So like that, we feed for every speaker the activity and then generate the multi-speaker outputs. Prachi, next slide. So I'm giving here an illustration for an example conversation. So in the top, we have the spectrogram. This is the time frequency representation. The y-axis is the frequency and the x-axis is the time. And the next two plots are actually the outputs of the neural network for the two speakers. So the dashed line shows the ground truth speaker activity. So that's where the desired that speaker, the corresponding speaker is active. And the graph itself shows the index of the Xenon that is predicted by the network. So a non-zero index here shows that the network predicts a non-silence and a phoneme in that at that time step. So we see that the two streams get the output only during the regions when the corresponding speaker is active. And on the right, I given the transcript, the system generated transcript. It's almost accurate and matches the ground truth, which is shown above the plots. I don't know if you can see it. In this case, we can actually see that the first sentence from the second speaker is actually like it has 100% overlap with the first speaker, but still it has generated 2 out of the 3 words during that region correctly. Can you go to the next slide? Some evaluation results. I'll not go into the details of the actual system and the system development, but the direction system here is trained on a call home on NIST SRE and Voxelab data sets. So this actually the system is trained on simulated conversations. So these are not real conversations, but later the system is fine-tuned on some real call home conversations. So what we are seeing in the table is a miss percentage. This is the fraction of time the speaker is missed. A speaker is missed in the output, and the direction error, which is also takes into account the fraction of times the speaker is wrongly assigned to a different speaker and others. So I have 2 systems here: expectors and end-to-end system. The expector system cannot handle multiple overlap, speaker overlap. That is Prachi has described it earlier. So because of that, the direction error rate is high, But if you evaluate the system without only during the regions where the single speaker is active, that is shown in the brackets, we have a good performance from X vector systems also. The end-to-end systems, on the other hand, they can predict the desired speaker irrespective of the presence of the other speaker. So it means that they can also predict the overlap region speaker activity. And because of that, the systems have a really good performance compared to the X vector system. And the performance of the individual speakers also is better. As for the ASR systems, I have shown the results for an unconditioned ASR system and a proposed system where you're actually using a speaker conditioning the acoustic model. So the system here is trained on switchboard telephone conversations. Both are the telephone conversation corpuses. The language model is trained on switchboard and Fisher English communications corpus. So the unconditioned system, which does not use speaker activity information, has a high word error rate. So word error rate here is an edit distance based metric computed between the generated transcript and the ground truth transcript for the given segment. But if you use speaker activity in the proposed approach, we get like absolute 10% improvements in the word error rates. Prachi, go to the next slide. So to summarize, we have seen that the transcription of speech conversations is different from traditional ASR because of the speaker overlaps that can be present and the multiple speakers being present, and the impromptu nature or the inefficiency in the language model itself pose challenges for speech conversion transcription. The duration and ASR doing them together jointly actually enables rich transcription, which can be useful for many downstream applications such as call center analytics and many other applications. And in Prachi's work, we have also seen that duration can be improved using self-supervision and developing better clustering algorithms. And joint ASR and duration can also improve transcription accuracy for natural speech conversations which have multiple speakers speaking simultaneously and variable number of speakers as well. Thank you IEEE for giving us this opportunity. Thank you. And we are open to take questions. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Prachi and Dr. Srikanth, for this wonderful talk. Does the audience have any question? If yes, you can go ahead, raise your hand and ask the question. So there does not seem to be any question from the audience. Thank you, Dr. Srikanth and Ms. Prachi again. On behalf of IEEE ISC Communication Society, kindly accept the plaque, Ms. Prachi. Thank you for this talk.
Thank you, Swati.
Also, thank you. Also, Dr. Srikanth, kindly accept this plaque as a token of our appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you, IEEE ISC. Thank you.